Alright guys, so season 2, episode 17 of The Flash. Barry is just finding out that Zoom is actually Jay Garrett, so at this point he is gotta find out how to stop him. So here he has an obsession with how to get faster and faster because that's the only way to beat Zoom. So he has to figure out a way to do that. So let's dive into this episode to where he takes the next step. So here we find Barry just trying to learn as much as he can to about the physics of the Speed Force and trying to master it and find a way to manipulate it and perhaps make him faster. And he's been working day and night non-stop trying to find a way, some type of algorithm, some way of the science of the Speed Force to make himself faster than Zoom. And despite of all his efforts, he's unsuccessful in doing that. So he also looks to Cisco and Caitlin, who have been analyzing his speed in comparison to Reverse Flash and Zoom. And even though their legs move at the exact same speed, Zoom is still up to 30% faster than Barry, which is a problem. So later that night at dinner, Wally mentions that his advisor likes his designs and wants him to help on a project. So while talking about it over dinner, Barry's a little out of it because he's still thinking about how you know his predicament with Zoom. So while Wally is telling Barry about the project, he explains that he's trying to increase the speed limit on smaller propulsion devices, and this triggers Barry's thought of Wally doing research and searching the greats and studying their notes and building on top of that. So it gives Barry the idea of, hey, I need to talk to the best of what I'm doing and to help me solve my problem. So that's where he gets the idea to travel back in time and see Neobard Thorne about the Speed Force, because Neobard Thorne mastered it and was able to manipulate it and travel through time. And not just travel through time, but be the fastest speedster that Barry's ever seen. So back at Star Labs, he proposes it to Cisco and Caitlin, and at first they have their hesitations about the idea, but ultimately if Barry's with it, they're with it as well. But of course, everybody's not on board. And everybody being Earth 2, Harrison Wells. He immediately shuts down the idea of Barry going through time and altering the timeline at all, because he knows if Barry does that things are going to change. People can die, people will be changed in the timeline if they know information that they're not supposed to. It can cause catastrophic events and a ripple through events up to the present and on to the future. And before I say anything else, the Tom Cavanaugh's performance as well as Neobard Thawne, whether it was Earth 1 or Earth 2, all of the characters that he portrays on this show, he crushes the performance. And you truly believe that it's a different character that you're seeing when he plays the different parts. But enough of that. Needless to say, him and Barry do not see eye to eye on it. And Barry, feeling like he has no other choice, is going to go anyway because he feels like this is just what he has to do. Okay, so here Barry rushes off to the particle accelerator so he can tap into the Speed Force and head back in time. And here in the Speed Force, as he's traveling back, he happens to see what we would call a time wraith. And this is pretty crazy because this time wraith, what they call here, resembles a lot of Black Flash, where Black Flash in the comic book, for those who don't know, was this entity that would appear when a speedster is coming close to his death, and only speedsters could see him in the comic book. Here, this wraith, others can see as well, but he is an entity of the Speed Force as well, which is very similar to Black Flash. But heading back to the story, Barry catches himself in the middle of fighting Harley Hathaway or Pied Piper, and so he has to kind of get himself out of the way pretty much. So the plan is to tranquilize himself and kind of put him to the side as he imposes as the earlier version of Flash and gets to Neobart Thorne and figures this whole thing out. So here, Barry quickly takes down Pied Piper and brings him into Star Labs. And I feel like here, Barry gets kind of sloppy with, keeping it under cover that he's from another timeline, and starts to give away little hints by knowing, for instance, how Pied Piper escapes, and kind of gives them hints to how to disarm him to keep him from getting out. But Cisco and Caitlin really don't pick up the clues, and neither does Thorne at first, but it's only a matter of time before Barry starts to show a little too much. Like, for instance, Barry is just way too eager to learn how to be faster all of a sudden. Because if you think back to season 1, at this point in time a year ago, that, when Wells or Thorne wanted him to be faster, he was just kind of like, well, okay, yeah, but these people got to be saved or they got to be rescued. Which, when he comes back this time, it's like he's the exact opposite. He wants to be faster, but when there's a break at the police station, the alarm goes off, he's like, well, they'll handle it, they got it. Versus the other way around, where Barry would have done the opposite. At least the Barry from a year ago would have done the opposite. And that right there by itself is enough to raise suspicion with Thorne that this isn't the same Barry that he knows, that he's training. So skipping over to the police station, it's the Time Wraith that's looking for Barry, that's giving them trouble there. So when Barry gets there, he's, of course, it's too late, and notices that Eddie is still alive at this point in time, which is pretty crazy. And Barry's gonna do something for Iris that includes Eddie, but you'll see that when you see the episode. So coming back to Star Labs, Barry's got a lot of questions to answer. Because now that Thorne is aware that there's a Time Wraith on the loose, he knows good and well that those only appear when a speedster has traveled through time. And he knows that this isn't Barry, at least not the one from the present time that he's in. So while hitting Barry with question after question, he is just doing a terrible job of answering and explaining himself, saying he saw the Wraith before, but he can't explain why he didn't mention it earlier. So Thorne now knows without a shadow of a doubt that this is not Barry, at least not the Barry from his timeline. So he's like, come in this room where it's just the two of us so I can knock your ass out, tie you up, and ask you some questions. So that's exactly what happens. And so Barry wakes up here pretty much like, what the hell? I'm handcuffed to this wheelchair and you're not sitting in it. And Thorne is trying to figure out who he is because he still doesn't know it's Barry. So he starts asking him some questions, and the thing is I just love this scene right here. The way it's shot, like with the camera not still here, kind of the nervousness, the tension between the two right now. Because he pretty much has Barry at his mercy. So like he states to him like, okay, so what is your purpose here? What are you doing here? And he's trying to pick his brain, because he, like I said, he's just trying to get information from him to figure him out. And I feel like the Barry from a year in the future, he's smart about it, because Thorne kind of comes to the point where he's like, you know what, I really don't need you, and being that I don't need you, I could just kill you right now. But Barry's like, wait, no, he's figured out a way to say, well, I have a note hidden somewhere, and if you kill me, then everybody will know how to beat you, and you'll never go home, because that's what Thorne wanted anyway. So not too long after Barry wakes up, the Barry from that present time wakes up and comes back like, where is he? And original continuity Barry comes out like, okay, well, you got me. And I think it's pretty cool here where you get both flashes here at the same time, like two berries next to each other. And so this here is where they're kind of like just figuring out what the deal is. And I love the way Thorn's just looking at original continuity, very like, okay, stop talking, because you're kind of telling this timeline things that it does not need to know right now. And the more you talk, the more you're giving away that could cause a crazy ripple effect. And I especially love this part here, because this is a part where Thorn is like, okay, you stop talking and you definitely shut the hell up, because you're totally gonna screw things up telling us too much information, or telling them too much information, because he already knows, but they don't know he knows. So skipping all that, now that everybody's caught up and everything, Thorn follows up on his end of a bargain that him and Barry kind of came to, that okay, you don't screw this up for me, I'm going home, and I'll give you the recipe, so to speak, to running faster. So he saves everything on a flash drive and gives it to Barry. So Barry now has presumably the way to beat Zoom. Mind you, this version of Wells knows nothing about Zoom. And now that that's handled, it's time for Barry to head back. And they don't spend too much time kind of saying this, but oh yeah, before this scene, by the way, before I forget, Barry told Cisco something, kind of something for him to remember for future events. But aside from that, what I was gonna say, that they don't really explain the plan that they have set up for Barry when he returns, because there's certain steps that they gotta follow as soon as he appears in the future, because the time wraith is gonna chase him right there, and when it follows him into the future, he's still gotta be stopped. And this kind of gets me, because in the comics, the way that he stopped the time wraith or Black Flash, for that instance, because he was the only one that saw him in the comics, so he literally, if I remember correctly, he ran like into the future, like past time, so to speak, like where death didn't even exist anymore, and it hence erased the Black Flash. So this is a different take on it, so a different strategy to defeat him, and he got the help of Cisco and Caitlin, and they kind of figured up a gun using Pied Piper's technology to stop the time wraith, which didn't work so well. So being that didn't work, but skipping the narrative right now, look at this time wraith, the Black Flash, so to speak. He has a mask just like Flash has on, which, look at it, like it looks just like the mask that Flash has on. And this kind of Flash turning into a wraith, so to speak, it kind of looks like, it makes me think, like, do these wraiths like transform speedsters into other wraiths that have to guard the Speed Force? But okay, yeah, so run that back real quick. Okay, so when Barry's here fighting the time wraith, it's like, it's crazy, because as he turns him into one, so to speak, Pied Piper saves him. And so it's because of the things that Barry changed in the past, Pied Piper never escaped. So I guess he just became part of the team and kind of helped them to put away metahumans, which is real crazy. And I don't know about you guys, but I just don't trust this guy. Like, you know, this is the same guy who was tearing up the place and about to blow the cops to smithereens with his sound waves and stuff. Like, okay, but anyway, I guess that's something we're gonna have to see from this point going forward, like where they go with his character, which I'm very interested to see. And especially with Zoom still being out there and being a threat, how is this new Pied Piper gonna come into play with the continuity? So with that being there, okay, Barry has the flash drive that Thorn gave him, and now he's gonna use that to figure out the way to run faster and how to beat Zoom. So that's the plan. head into this next episode. I'm excited to see what happens next. So I'm gonna end this video on this note, guys. If there's anything you noticed in here that I didn't cover, just comment below, let me know, let's talk about it. Aside from that, hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna have more videos of discussions, explanations, things of that sort, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later.